Herkese merhabalar, iyi günler dileriz. Ben İmran Mehmet, British Education Büro'dan operasyon müdürü olarak bugün sizlerle birlikteyim. Dünyanın en iyi 80 üniversitesinden biri olan University of Southampton ve aynı zamanda hukuk bölümünde de İngiltere'nin en iyi 10 üniversitesi içerisinde yer alan University of Southampton'dan hukuk fakültesi akademisyeni Kirsty McDougall ve Rami, üniversite yetkilimiz Rami El Musa ile birlikte bugün sizlerleyiz. Ben sözü akademisyenimize bırakmadan önce üniversitenin resmi temsilcisi olan bizlerin öğrencilerimize hangi konularda destek olduklarımız hakkında bilgi aktarmak istiyorum. Onun öncesinde çok kısa katılımcı olmaya devam eden öğrenci ve velilerimiz olmaya devam ediyor. Çok az onları bekleyebiliriz ve hemen sonrasında sunumumuza başlayabilirim. Evet, bizler BEB olarak, British Education Bureau olarak University of Southampton'ın Türkiye'deki resmi temsilciliğini yapan kurumuz. Temsil ettiğimiz üniversitelerin Türkiye'deki tanıtım faaliyetlerini destekliyoruz ve üniversitenin Türkiye'deki organizasyonlarını düzenleyen kurum konumundayız. 2002 yılında Oxford'da kurulduk. İngiliz ve Türk kuruculara sahip bir yapımız bulunmakta. Ve bu özelliğimizle birlikte 22 yıldır İstanbul, Ankara ve İzmir ofislerimizde öğrencilerimize hizmet sağlamaya devam ediyoruz. Uzmanlık alanımız tamamen İngiltere ve İrlanda eğitim sistemi. Dolayısıyla üniversitelerin giriş şartları, başvuru süreçleri, konaklama, vize gibi aşamalarında öğrencilerimize destek olmayı devam ediyoruz 2002 yılından bu yana. Tüm danışmanlarımız İngiltere ve İrlanda eğitim sistemine hakim bir yapıya sahip ve bu konuda eğitimler almaya devam eden uzman bir kadrodan oluşmaktayız. Birleşik Krallık ve İrlanda özelinde baktığımız zaman toplam 150 üniversite bulunmakta, 150 civarında üniversite bulunmakta bu ülkelerde ve bizler BEB olarak bu 150 üniversitenin 90'ının Türkiye'deki resmi temsilciliğini yapmaktayız. Ve bu doğrultuda az önce bahsetmiş olduğum tüm süreçlerde kapsamlı olarak danışmanlık sağlamaya devam ediyoruz. Bu hafta University of Southampton webinarlarımız devam ediyor olacak. Yine her gün farklı bölümlerde akademisyenleri sizlerle buluşturmaya devam edeceğiz. Bu gibi etkinliklerimizi internet sitemiz, Instagram ve Facebook sayfalarımızdan takip edebilirsiniz. Ve Birleşik Krallık ya da İrlanda süreçleriyle ilgili aklınıza takılan, sormak istediğiniz, destek almak istediğiniz konular olursa bizlere de bu noktalar, bu iletişim bilgilerimizden ulaşabilirsiniz. Ben şimdi sözü akademisyenimize bırakıyorum. Kirsty McDougall sunumu yapacak ve sunumun ardından merak ettiğiniz tüm soruları yanıtlıyor olacağız. Bu merak ettiğiniz sorularla ilgili chat box'ı ve el kaldırma butonunu kullanabilirsiniz. Dediğim gibi sunum sonunda hepsini yanıtlıyor olacağız. Thank you so much, Kirsty. It's yours now. I think you are muted now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Southampton Law School. My name is Kirsty McDougall. I am the academic admissions tutor, and I'm also a lecturer in law at Southampton Law School. Today, we are looking to just give you an insight into who we are as a law school, but also a taster session that is in my own area of research, which is competition law, and particularly looking at the regulatory enforcement of competition law in markets like big tech. So today's webinar is about unstoppable giants, the struggle of competition law in the big tech era. And then I'll tell you a bit about Southampton Law School and the opportunities for undergraduate and postgraduate study. So, unstoppable giants, the struggle of competition law in the big tech era. These are who I am talking about when I'm talking about unstoppable giants. And why are they a concern that we should think about? So let me start by introducing you to one of the biggest ongoing legal battles, and that's the US Department of Justice antitrust lawsuit against Google. The accusation is that Google used agreements with device manufacturers to cement its dominance as the world's leading search engine. This dominance hasn't just made Google a household name that you'll all know, it's also worth billions because it enables the company to maintain a firm grip on digital advertising markets and the flow of information. But Google isn't alone. Big tech companies like Amazon, Apple, Meta, and Microsoft dominate key areas of our global economy. Whether it's e-commerce, online advertising, cloud computing, these companies control vast ecosystems, and these touch nearly every aspect of our daily lives. That brings us to competition law. Competition law is a crucial set of rules designed to ensure that markets remain open, fair, and innovative. Think of it as the referee in a football game, making sure no team cheats or bends the rules. Competition law protects those smaller players from being crushed by the giants and ensures consumers benefit from better prices, choices, and innovation. So at its core, competition law aims to promote fair markets by preventing anti-competitive practices, such as monopolization, collusion, and abusive market dominance. But here's the challenge. Big tech operates in ways competition law was not designed to handle. These companies don't just dominate markets, they redefine them. They build ecosystems where they make the rules, act as the gatekeepers, and sometimes even play the game themselves. So today I want to tackle 3 questions. What makes big tech so different and powerful? Why do traditional competition tools struggle to address their dominance? And what are regulators and courts doing to adapt to this? And are these efforts enough? So let's start by examining why big tech is so unique. Big tech is not like traditional businesses. They operate in ways that amplify their power and make competition extraordinarily difficult. So today I'll highlight 3 unique characteristics that drive their dominance. And those are network effects, data as a competitive asset, and winner takes all dynamics. And these are not just abstract concepts. They've got profound implications for markets, innovation, and how all of us interact online. So let's start with network effects. Network effects occur when a platform becomes more valuable as more users join it. So this concept lies at the heart of many big tech businesses. Think about Facebook. Even if you're not the biggest fan of Facebook, chances are your friends, family, and professional contacts are there. And this creates what we call a reinforcing loop. So the more people who use it, the more indispensable it becomes. Now consider the lock-in effects this creates. For many of us, leaving Facebook or WhatsApp or Instagram isn't just a personal choice, it's also a social choice that's exclusionary for us. So if you switch to an alternative platform, you risk losing access to your connections. And even if a better competitor emerges, how likely are you to convince all your contacts to move with you? And this dynamic creates enormous barriers to entry for new competitors. A striking example of this is WhatsApp. It's an incredibly simple messaging platform, certainly not the only one available. Alternatives like Signal and Telegram offer similar features and arguably better privacy protections, but WhatsApp dominates the entire market space, and I think it's the 2nd largest used messaging service in Turkey. But it dominates because of its user base. Once everyone you know is using it, switching becomes inconvenient, even if you prefer a different service. You'll see on the screen there that gaming platforms are another key example. Think about Xbox Live or PlayStation Network. These platforms thrive on network effects because multiplayer gaming is more enjoyable with your friends, when you're all on the same system. So even if a new gaming console offered superior features, gamers might hesitate to switch because they'd lose access to their social networks and shared experiences. So network effects can also explain the success of marketplaces like eBay or Airbnb. So on eBay, buyers flock to the platform because it offers a vast selection of sellers and products, while sellers are drawn to the large pool of buyers. In the same vein, Airbnb attracts hosts because of its enormous base of travelers, while travelers choose it because of its extensive range of accommodations. So for competitors, the challenge isn't just creating a similar platform, it's achieving the scale necessary to make the platform equally valuable to users. Now, that's not just a social problem, it's an economic one. Imagine trying to launch a competitor to Instagram or YouTube today. You'd need to build not just a great product, but an entire user base. And a scale that rivals billions of existing users, it's a near impossible challenge. Beyond businesses, consider search engines like Google. Part of Google's dominance is driven by network effects in its data. So the more people use Google, the more data it collects, allowing it to improve its search results. And better search results attract us to use it more. And it creates a self-reinforcing cycle again. Even if a new competitor launched a search engine with a better interface, it would really struggle to match Google's data-driven accuracy, meaning we're locked into Google. So network effects make markets less dynamic because they lock in dominant players and they make it harder for new ideas and competitors to flourish. Ultimately, they create a scenario where success feeds on itself and competition becomes less about creating the best product and more about overcoming the structural advantages of scaling user bases. So we're stifling innovation, and that's a core principle that competition law is trying to protect. The second option that we're going to look at is data as a competitive asset. In the digital economy, data is often described as the new oil. So it's even more powerful than that. Unlike oil, data doesn't run out. It grows, it replenishes itself, and becomes even more valuable over time. Every search, every click, every purchase generates data that can be used to refine algorithms, predict our consumer behavior, and deliver highly targeted ads. Amazon provides the perfect example of how data can cement dominance. Amazon doesn't just sell products, it's also the largest marketplace for third-party sellers. Every transaction on that platform generates data. What products are popular, what price points are competitive, and what trends are emerging. That's great, but here's where the problem arises. Amazon uses this data to inform its own private label strategy. So if a small business starts selling a popular kitchen garden gadget, for example, Amazon can see that trend before anyone else. Within months, if not even days, you might find an Amazon Basics version of that exact same popular product, priced lower and predominantly displayed on Amazon's platform. This gives Amazon an insurmountable advantage, and the small business isn't just competing with other sellers, they're competing with Amazon itself, a company that not only knows what sells with all the data, but also controls the marketplace where it's sold. And it's not just Amazon. Google collects immense amounts of data through its search engine, and it uses it to refine its advertising algorithms. Meta, Facebook, leverages user data across Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp to create some of the most sophisticated ad targeting systems in the world. Smaller competitors simply do not have access to comparable data sets, which creates a widening gap that reinforces big tech's dominance. And this gives us broader questions as a society about privacy and control. Should companies have this much power over data that we generate? And what happens to innovation when smaller firms are locked out of markets because they can't compete on the same data-driven playing field? So data as a competitive asset is an issue. The final trend or unique characteristic I'm going to talk about is winner-takes-all dynamics. Digital markets are uniquely prone to winner-takes-all outcomes, where one company dominates to such an extent that competitors are almost entirely shut out. And this isn't about being the best. This is about creating conditions where no one else can catch up. Google's a quintessential example of this. They control over 90% of the global search market. Why? Because their scale allows them to deliver better results, faster, more relevant, and more accurate than competitors. Now, this is great because we like that Google does that for us, but it creates a self-reinforcing cycle. The more users Google attracts, the better its algorithms become, and the harder it's ever going to be for rivals like Bing or DuckDuckGo to compete. And this dynamic extends beyond search. In e-commerce, Amazon is the default choice for millions of shoppers. In social media, Meta owns Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. They're of the most widely used platforms on the planet. So this is big power that these companies hold over us. And the dominance of these companies means that well-funded challengers struggle to gain traction, never mind smaller companies. Why does it matter? Winner-take-all markets don't just hurt competition, they harm us as consumers in the long run. Without meaningful alternatives, consumers have little choice but to accept the terms and conditions of these dominant players. So if they raise higher fees, they reduce our privacy, they stop innovating and offer us fewer features, we're locked in. We're going to keep using them even if they're not doing the best for us. So now what we need to consider is, how do these market dynamics manifest themselves in practice? So what is the problem with these issues? And the main theme here is barriers to entry. The first role I'm going to look at is the role of gatekeepers. So gatekeepers are companies like Apple and Google, and they act as gatekeepers to essential digital services. Apple's App Store is a good example. It controls which apps you can download and how developers can monetize their products on the App Store. Apple charges all developers a commission of up to 30% on all in-app purchases, a fee that smaller companies have argued is both excessive and anti-competitive. And if you've seen the news recently, you'll see that in the UK, Apple are being investigated for charges around their cloud services that we all use on a daily basis. So gatekeepers is a big issue. They hold the platforms, they own them, makes it harder for us to get in. They set the standard. The next issue that we have is multi-sided markets. Big tech platforms serve multiple groups simultaneously. So Amazon connects buyers, sellers, and advertisers, while Meta connects users and businesses. And this creates really complex interdependence. So for example, when Amazon tweaks its search algorithms to promote its private label products, it benefits consumers in the short term with lower prices. But this is at the expense of third-party sellers who find themselves pushed out of the market. And once Amazon has no competitors, it can then start to raise the price because it owns the entire market. We call that monopolization or abuse of a dominant position. One of the other big issues that we see is that these companies are vertically integrated. So big tech firms don't just ever dominate in one sector. They control entire ecosystems. So Amazon, for example, is not just a retailer. They're also a logistics company, a cloud computing provider, and a content producer. And this allows them to prioritize all their own products and services on their platform while sidelining competitors and further entrenching their dominance. And these characteristics make big tech's dominance deeply entrenched and incredibly difficult to challenge. And you can see here on the screen, there's this balance between good and evil, because these companies have brought us a lot of technological advancements, but how they're keeping others out the market is a primary concern. Because these business models are designed to reinforce and expand their power, creating barriers that smaller competitors and even legal regulators struggle to overcome. But acknowledging the problem is only the first step. The real challenge lies in finding solutions. So let's turn to how competition law is trying to respond to the unique challenges that these markets pose. Legal and institutional responses are important. So regulators and courts have tools to address anti-competitive behaviour, but these tools are old. They were designed for traditional markets, not for dynamic markets like big tech or data-driven markets like big tech. And as a result, regulators face significant challenges with the existing frameworks. They just don't apply well to these modern giants. So let's explore the current tools, their limitations, and how new regulatory and institutional approaches are evolving to meet these challenges. Let's start with merger control. The process of reviewing and approving when companies join together, acquisitions. Traditionally, regulators will evaluate whether a merger would result in harm to us as consumers by reducing competition in the market. But in the digital world, predicting long-term impact of mergers is really complex. And I'd like you to consider Facebook owning Instagram. They purchased Instagram in 2012. At the time, Instagram was really small, fast growing. It was a photo sharing app. It only had 13 employees. Regulators didn't see Facebook buying it as a competitive threat. After all, Instagram was tiny compared to Facebook's vast social media empire. Fast forward to today, and Instagram is one of Meta's most dominant platforms, serves as a key tool for advertising and consumer engagement. And by acquiring Instagram very early on in its journey, Facebook ultimately eliminated a potential rival that Instagram could have been, consolidating Facebook's dominance, and it tightened its grip on social media markets more generally. This happens with other companies too. Microsoft's acquisition of Activision and Blizzard is one of the largest deals in gaming history. Regulators have raised concerns that Microsoft can use its control over popular franchises like the game Call of Duty to limit competition in the gaming ecosystem. And we tend to call an ecosystem the entire market of gaming. So would Microsoft prioritize its own Xbox platform, locking out rivals like Sony or PlayStation, or emerging cloud gaming services? And these questions illustrate how mergers in the digital space are not just about the current market share, they're about the future direction and trying to anticipate entire industries and how we as consumers might not benefit from companies joining together. So mergers in the digital space are about protecting us and maintaining enough competitors in the marketplace that deliver benefits for consumers if they are competing aggressively with each other and not joining together. Abusive dominance is another tool, and this is where my own interest and area of expertise lies. It's a tool in competition law. And it's called abusive dominance and monopolization in the US. So abusive dominance EU, monopolization in the US. Proving harm in digital markets is notoriously difficult. So actually proving an abusive dominance. And there was a case that you may have heard of in Europe recently called the Google shopping case. And the regulators were arguing that Google unfairly promoted its own shopping service at the top of search results, and it sidelined all its competitors. And this self-preferencing strategy allowed Google to dominate the online shopping search traffic. They're only able to do this because they own the platform as well as having their own shopping results. So it's an advantage of being in multi-sided markets, like I already mentioned. What's the problem with this case? Well, the investigation took years to conclude, requiring complex economic modelling and detailed analysis of Google's algorithms. And even after the regulators imposed a £2.4 billion fine on Google, critics questioned whether the remedy forcing Google to adjust its search results was even sufficient to undo the harm that Google had already done. And all these examples highlight a key problem. These traditional tools of competition enforcement are resource intensive, slow, and often reactive rather than proactive. And by the time the harms identified and addressed, markets have already shifted and dominance of these companies has been further entrenched. So what's happening now to try and address these failings? Regulators worldwide are adopting more proactive strategies. So the EU Digital Markets Act is one of the most ambitious regulatory efforts to date. Unlike traditional antitrust tools, which respond to the harm after it occurs, the Digital Markets Act imposes obligations and rules designed to prevent anti-competitive behaviour before it happens. So, for example, the DMA has now banned those practices like self-preferencing, where platforms favour their own products and services, making it that they can't do it in the first place. It also requires those gatekeepers that I spoke about earlier, like WhatsApp, Meta, to interoperate with smaller competitors, enabling users to communicate across platforms, meaning they don't benefit from owning the platform if they're also active in the messaging service. And this can level the playing field for smaller messaging services who would struggle to compete with Meta's ecosystem, for example. In the United States, there was growing bipartisan support for legislative proposals in the American Innovation and Choice Online Act. And this bill was looking to curb big tech's ability to favour their own products over those of competitors. So, for example, they could have prohibited Amazon from using Amazon Marketplace data to develop also their retail business, their private label products. There is a bit of opposition to this now because Donald Trump has now been a re-elected president and he is seen to be more pro-business. And there is some concern that this act will no longer be passed. One of the other ways globally that competition authorities are trying to combat this is looking at data access and interoperability. So data is the lifeblood of these digital markets, and dominant firms often have exclusive access to this enormous amount of data sets. And regulators are trying to make them share that data. For example, Google could be required to share anonymized search data with smaller competitors, enabling the competitors to actually compete with them and build their own effective algorithms. Similarly, interoperability requirements could allow smaller platforms to connect with more dominant networks, reducing the barriers for new entrants to the market. And these proactive measures represent a significant departure from this reactive traditional approach of competition law. But what we need to be able to do this is institutional innovation also. The complexity of big tech markets demands this. Institutions need to be better equipped to address their unique challenges, and global collaboration plays a vital role. But individual nations are also innovating their enforcement strategies. And I thought this example from the Turkish Competition Authority was really interesting. They've taken bold steps to address big tech dominance. In 2021, the TCA fined Google $37 million for abusing its dominant position in the search market by unfairly favouring its own local services and search results. So Turkish companies that had advertised with Google compared to other Turkish companies were being prioritised in the search results. And the case closely mirrors Google Shopping in the EU, and it highlights how regulators around the globe are addressing similar issues with coordinated strategies. The Turkish Competition Authority has also challenged Meta, formerly Facebook's, controversial WhatsApp data sharing policy, arguing that it could harm competition by consolidating Meta's data-driven advantage in digital advertising in Turkey. And they actually imposed interim measures and launched a broader investigation that's currently ongoing. So Turkey's aligning itself with global trends when it comes to addressing these digital markets and their unique needs. And these examples underscore the importance of both local enforcement and international cooperation in tackling these markets, because they're massive, they're global, they're cross-border. Facebook doesn't care if you're in Turkey or the UK or the US. So we need all these legal institutions to collaborate. We also have specialised units emerging, and this is another critical development. The UK's Digital Markets Unit is an example of an institutional innovation tailored to big tech. And it's a dedicated body that focuses exclusively on these platforms with significant market power. It develops their own expertise in algorithmic transparency and digital advertising, so they can investigate what the companies are doing. Bear in mind that these companies have the top professionals in the world in their field. So they've got the top coders, the top product developers. So it's really hard for the regulators to have that same expertise. We then have to think about what the judicial approach is. How are the courts dealing with this? First up, and I mentioned this at the beginning, was the US versus the Google trial. We've accused Google of monopolizing search and search advertising markets. And the case centers on those agreements with device manufacturers, which ensure its search engine is the default search provider on all of our devices. And that's currently ongoing. We also have the EU's Google shopping case that I mentioned, which has now clarified that self-preferencing is a harm and has led to that now being a practice that's excluded via the Digital Markets Act, criminalising almost that behaviour, although it would be in the EU, so it would be done by fines rather than criminal conduct. But that can motivate national competition authorities to act, especially authorities like the US and the UK, where there are criminal sanctions for breaching competition law. So the courts play a key role in balancing enforcement with innovation. We don't want to stop these companies from being incentivized to innovate, but we want them to innovate fairly and ensure that they're not too powerful. So conclusion and future outlook. Are these unstoppable giants? We've not been that successful so far in regulating them. And although we're taking all these steps, whether or not it will help because they're just so big. So what they're looking at doing, ultimately we want to take a proactive and interdisciplinary approach. To address these challenges, we need to move beyond traditional competition law frameworks. Lawyers, economists, and technologists all need to work together to fully understand how these companies operate and the unique harms they can create for us as consumers. For example, economists are critical for quantifying harms in ways that courts and regulators can understand. How do we measure the impact of self-preferencing, like Google prioritizing its own services? An economist needs to tell us the impact of how that harms us as a consumer, or how it harms competitors. Technologists are essential for unraveling the complexities of algorithms and data collection. Without their expertise, regulators risk being several steps behind the companies that they're trying to oversee. Global collaboration is important as well. Big tech, as I've said, operates across borders, meaning that no single country or regulator can effectively rein them in alone. A lack of coordination will make it very difficult for us actually to meaningfully have any results when we impose remedies against them. And it's efforts like joint investigations by the EU and the US into Apple and Google that are becoming really important in tackling this. So by aligning strategies and sharing expertise, regulators can close the enforcement gaps and hold big tech accountable on a global scale. While big tech's dominance presents a significant challenge, it also offers us an opportunity. The rise of these companies has forced us to rethink competition law. And that's really interesting for me as a competition lawyer, or potentially for you guys coming to study competition law. Should competition law operate how it has always operated traditionally, or does it need redrafted with all this expertise in order for it to be more dynamic and respond to markets? There's a lot of opportunity for work in this area. So where do we go from here? This isn't just a question for regulators or lawyers, it's a question for everyone, citizens, consumers, and professionals. We all have a stake in ensuring that digital markets remain open and competitive. And the choices that we make today shape the digital economy for decades to come. Will we allow giants to dictate the rules of the game, or will we create a system that fosters both innovation and fairness? Thank you very much for listening to the taster session today. I hope that you found that interesting, and this coincides with lots of models that we study in our programme. Now, what I wanted to do was welcome you to the law school and introduce you a bit about who we are as a school. So our ethos is that we are a global law school. So like the issues I discussed today, they're not always firmly rooted in law or in the UK legal jurisdiction. And when you come to study with us, whether it is at undergraduate or postgraduate level, what we should be teaching you is how to think. So we want to give you the first-class legal skills that give you the critical thinking skills to go on into your future career. And we're proud of our worldwide reputation for research excellence in a wide variety of fields. Research is of key importance to you because it means when you come to study with us, the person who is teaching you is an expert in their field. They're not just academics, they're research-led academics, meaning that they're at a Russell Group institution. Many of our academics are still in practice. We do consultancy for companies. We help draft government policy. We sit on courts and tribunals. So you're learning from people who are also active in their field. And that's at the heart of everything we do. Our LLB programs range, and we've got a broad range of tailored modules. We've got 4 types of pathways. We've got the LLB 3-year program. We've got an LLB law degree with psychology. Now, this is still what we would call a qualifying law degree that you can go on and practice with in the future. But where some of the optional modules are in law, you would do them in psychology. And we've got 2-year abroad programs, one that focuses on traveling abroad and getting experience of a European jurisdiction, and one that focuses on more international years abroad. If you were at our undergraduate level, this is what the structure would look like. So you would be doing core modules in the first year with an introduction to legal skills and looking at legal systems and reasoning. So looking at the UK common law system. Now, the reason we entrench that is not just for international students, but international students arrive with the same knowledge as many of our first-time UK students. No one has really studied the English legal system in that depth. So being an international student is not a disadvantage, and actually bringing international perspectives to the classroom and comparing how things work with your own jurisdiction can make for some really interesting discussions. In year 2, you begin to more tailor-make your degree. So you've still got core legal subjects. Core legal subjects are those required by the Society of Law for England and Wales. They're standard setting modules. But then you can start to tailor-make the degree more to your interests. And that continues throughout year 3, where you entirely pick your modules, but you also do a compulsory dissertation. So you create your own research topic in law. You work with an advisor throughout the whole year, and the advisor is an academic member of staff. We work with you and we help you develop your research proposal and write up your 10,000-word project. And if you were going to take advantage of any year abroad programs, that's when you would go, and then you'd come back and complete your 3rd year in 4th year. Many of you will be thinking about postgraduate study. We've got a broad range of tailored LLM programs and modules. We've got our LLM in maritime law, which is quite popular in Turkey. And we have the Institute for Maritime Law at Southampton, and it's the oldest institute for maritime law. And I'm always fascinated by the fact that 90% of all maritime lawyers have received training at Southampton Law School Maritime Law Centre. So it's a really well-established and well-respected institute to receive an LLM from. We also have an LLM in international commercial and corporate law, and you can choose modules across these LLMs so long as 80% of your modules are based within one. And competition law is on the International Commercial and Corporate Law, LLM, but I also have some maritime law students because we do an interesting section on competition law in the maritime sector. We're also looking at our LLM in international law with a focus on sustainability and human rights. And we also have an LLM Masters of Laws where you can actually cherry pick from all our range of modules. And we've got modules in everything from data protection, admiralty, artificial intelligence, and we're looking at key social and economic issues and how the law should regulate them. We also have really strong law student societies for all our students to contribute to enjoying. One of the benefits of being a bespoke law school in that we don't have a large number of students. We're a relatively small law school in terms of the building size and also in terms of our staff to student ratio, meaning that we've got really good interaction with our students. And that means we can fund student-led activities. Like the Law Society, the Bar Association, which helps those who want to stand up and argue in court develop their skills, and also the European Law Students Association for those looking to, especially many of you who will be looking to go back to your home jurisdiction and practice, or will be looking to have a more international focus to your career. We also have a large Canadian population in the school, and it's really good to get perspectives of that kind of more Americanized, though the Canadians wouldn't like me to say that, but that Americanized approach to law and what that brings to the classroom. And we're very diverse, so it is really interesting to get different students' perspectives on how the law should be developed. Why would you want to do an LLM or an LLB at Southampton? All of our programs, LLM and LLB, start with a week-long induction, and these are designed to introduce students to the UK common law system, and it will familiarise you with the system at both an undergraduate and postgraduate level. And this includes lectures on academic skills, research and writing, so we really look after you and bed you in. We also have a personal academic tutor system, and that's an academic member of staff who you are assigned to and is your point of contact throughout the year. So my PATs come along and they ask me questions about their class that week, or they ask me to write them a reference, or they might just want help with adjusting to studying in the UK. We also have an LLM challenge, and this is a unique opportunity for our LLM students to work in a group on a small research and presentation project. And this is judged externally by law firms. And we offer academic writing and case law reading workshops, particularly for those whose first language is not in English. So we recognise that it might be a while since you've practiced speaking English, so there's some time to bed in and get used to the environment. We also encourage our LLM students in particular, although we offer this to our undergraduate students too, but we want you to contribute to the research that us as academics are doing. So we want you to come along to our research institutes. Often they're external speakers. Judges come along to the school and speak about their current caseloads. We've got people who are drafting policy worldwide coming for a Wednesday afternoon seminar at Southampton Law School. And we involve our students in that as well. So it's a great opportunity to get industry contacts and network as well. Southampton Law School also offers some scholarships that you might be interested in. We've got undergraduate scholarships. These are merit scholarships. They're awarded automatically, and they offer up to £3,000 off the first year of tuition fees if you exceed your offer grades. We also have competitive scholarships for international undergraduates. The Southampton Presidential International Scholarship is open to any undergraduate degree. If your application is successful, we would award you with either 10,000 off your tuition fees or 100% off. And this is limited to a few countries. One of the things I'm going to put at the end is contact information, so that if you've got any particular questions that are more personalised to your application, you can email us with them. We realise as well that it's expensive to come and study. So entrenched into the experience, we want to offer you with employment and employability opportunities to enhance your CV. We have an amazing Southampton legal clinic where our students can do work with our in-house solicitor, Omar Madlum. And Omar is a practicing solicitor who takes our students along on some of his casework. And we also work with a law firm in the centre of Southampton, Hodge, Jones and Allen Solicitors, and our students go down there and do some personal injury work. They also do private client work where they meet with clients. They're part of drafting advice letters to clients. And just some of the clinics we've got going on just now are some animal rights cases, environmental law and commercial law. And we want our students to be able to get some practical experience as well as an academic education. To support all of this, we have a school, faculty and central careers support system. Just some of the things that we organise: annual careers fairs attended by up to 50 law firms, including the top 5 Magic Circle firms, employability skills programmes. We have prizes and scholarships for top performing students. We invite our own alumni, so people who have already been studying with us and now are off in that position as a solicitor or a barrister or in a graduate programme in a big company, and they come back and tell our students the tips and tricks around applications and interviews. We also offer mooting experience, so an opportunity to practice your oral advocacy and legal argument skills. And we also have a lot of widen participation schemes, so looking at opportunities to go and shadow judges at the Crown Court. We also offer individual curated law career appointments. So this would be once you start studying with us and you're thinking about what you can do with your education, you can come along and have a 45-minute one-to-one tailored appointment, and we'll help you target potential law firms that you'll want to apply to, graduate programs in business, might be the civil service, it might be government branches in your home country, and we can help you with mock interview techniques and application style questions. So basically making you stand out in line with the academics training that you've had whilst you're at our law school. We also have a wide range of central career support, so that's just what's in the law school. The university offers even further support and has expertise, especially in the international market, that you can benefit from when you're with us. We also like to fund student-led initiatives. So if you come along and there's a particular law firm that you want to visit, we have pots of funding that we can provide you with to do that. We'll also organise student-led networking events, presentations, competitions, workshops, and our students quite often, backed by the law school, organise trips to the Inns of Court Society or the Supreme Court in the UK and London. One of the big benefits about Southampton is you're about 55 minutes on the train into the centre of London. So there's also an opportunity to do a lot of networking and international law events in London whilst you're with us. That is all from me. I would love to answer your questions. If you have particular admissions related questions that you maybe don't want to ask in a forum like this, please scan the QR code and that will take you straight to the admissions email address where we'll be able to answer them more directly. Thank you for joining today, and please post any questions that you may have.
So thanks so much for the taster lecture and all the information, Kirsty. That's really beneficial for the students and parents attending the session. We can wait for the questions on chat box, and they can also ask by raising their hands. I will remind them in Turkish as well. Tüm merak ettiğiniz soruları chat box üzerinden yazılı bir şekilde ya da el kaldırma butonuyla sesli olarak paylaşabilirsiniz. Hem üniversite hakkında, hem hukuk fakültesi hakkında, hem de dersle ilgili, yani sunum başındaki konuyla ilgili olarak merak ettiğiniz tüm soruları bizlerle paylaşabilirsiniz.
I should say I'm also happy to just take questions about competition law and big tech more generally as well.
We received one individual question about the scholarship opportunities. Maybe Rami, could you please provide some information? Like Kirsty already mentioned about that, but maybe in detail we can provide some information.
Absolutely. Thank you, Imran. Thank you, Kirsty, for the great presentation. In terms of our scholarships, we offer scholarships at the undergraduate level, as Kirsty mentioned. They're £3,000 for students who exceed their offer grades. So it all depends on which curriculum you've studied. If you've studied the Turkish lycée, obviously, as you may be aware, we accept students directly onto year one. But then if you apply for a postgraduate degree and want to study in LLM, you would qualify for a £3,000 scholarship automatically if you have an equivalent to a first GPA, meaning a first means an excellent GPA. So the rating and the grading of your degree has to be excellent. In terms of percentage, it's usually above 3.5. If it comes to percentage of 100, usually 87% and above. Now, in addition to that, we also offer a scholarship, a brand new scholarship, which is the Excellence Scholarship for any students, postgraduate students from Turkey, and you are considered for that automatically as soon as you receive an offer from the university. So the good news as well is you can combine these scholarships with other scholarships. So you can receive the Excellence Scholarship and the Southampton Law Scholarship. So a total of £6,500 to £7,000 off your annual fee would be the maximum amount of scholarship you can get. So you can combine scholarships, you can get scholarships on their own. It all depends really on your grades. And that's good news for all, really. Our scholarships have improved year on year, and we're seeing an increase in the number of Turkish students. So currently we have a total of 68 students from Turkey on different subject areas. But law, maritime law, psychology with law are very, very popular degrees for students from Turkey. So please do stay in touch, either with myself, Kirsty, or with BEB, who are more than capable to give you more information about our courses at the Faculty of Law. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rami, for the answer. We have one more question. I want to learn about PhD scholarship opportunities, like research assistantship, etc.
So for PhDs, it is slightly different. If it's a scholarship or a research assistant, usually they are advertised as a job in the UK because they will be in relation to a particular topic that an academic is working on that has funding. Now, that's not always the case. We also do look at individual PhD applications. So if you have an idea for a PhD, you should always contact the relevant academic. So if you go on our website and you see someone working in the area that you're interested in, reach out to them by email with a PhD kind of title idea. And that's a good starting point. And then from there, we can look to see if there's any funding available around that, or if there's any grant funding you could potentially apply for it. So two things, look out for job adverts and also email individual academics working in the field that you're interested in.
Thanks so much. We can wait for a couple of more seconds for the questions. Maybe you can put your email address too, Rami, on the chat box. I think that would be great as well. Yeah, I think we covered all the questions. Thank you so much once again, Kirsty and Rami, for your time and all the information you provided. Hope to see you soon again in the future.
Perfect. Thank you very much for having me. And please do, anyone listening, if you've got any questions and you just don't want to share them here, please do send me an email. Always happy to chat about Southampton and competition law.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Imran and the team. Take care.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
And you, bye-bye.
Goodbye.